Private endpoints use one or more private IP addresses from your Azure Virtual Network, effectively bringing the service into your VNet. In this video, we will create private endpoints for Azure Backup. It will let you securely perform the backup and restore operations over private network. Azure Backup has enhanced v2 version of creating private endpoint. Key enhancements are: create private endpoints without managed identities. No private endpoints are created for the blob and queue services. It uses fewer private IPs. You can create private endpoints for new recovery services vaults that don't have any items registered or protected to the vault only. For creating private endpoint for Azure Backup, go to Recovery Service Vault, Networking, Private Access tab, fill in the subscription, RG details, name and NIC name. The region should be the same as the vault and the resource to be backed up. On this tab, select the PaaS service for which you want to create your connection, which is Azure Backup in our case. Specify the virtual network and subnet where you want the private endpoint to be created. You will only be able to select VNet present in selected region on first page. You can either integrate your private endpoint with a private DNS zone or use your custom DNS server. Select No if you want to use your own DNS server. We will choose Yes for now and click on Create. As we can see under DNS configuration required, records have already been created and integrate with private DNS zone as required. If you're creating the private endpoint as the owner of the Recovery Services Vault, the private endpoint you created is auto-approved. Otherwise, the owner of the vault must approve the private endpoint before using it. Now we will create another private endpoint PE test where we won't integrate it with private DNS zone. While it is being created, let us check the private endpoints created for first one. As we used v2 or latest approach to create private endpoint, only one PE has been created, that is for backup, unlike classic or v1 approach where we used to get additional 2 endpoints for blob and queue as well. Now that our PE test private endpoint has been created, let us check its DNS configuration. As we can see, we get a record details that we need to manually add to our custom DNS server or host files. However, it has not been created and integrated with private DNS zone like in previous one. Let us delete one of the private endpoint PE test for now, as we need only one as of now. As we have private endpoints created now, we will disallow traffic from public networks to Vault. We will configure backup in another video.